Happy New Year and welcome to 2020. So, when you start the year, even starting a new decade like this is, it's important to really, in my eyes, set some goals, get some focus. I know it's cliche to set resolutions or even intentions or goals. So, I disagree. I think it's very, very important that you do this. I did it really for the first time last year, where I wrote down a list of things that I wanted to accomplish. And maybe it's luck, maybe it's the goals, maybe it's the intentions, but I had a fantastic year. And it's gotten me excited about doing it again this year. And I'm in the process of doing it. It's not something I do in 5 minutes. I've been thinking about it for about a few weeks. I'm going to sit this weekend and quietly, when I'm alone, write a bunch of things down, put them out uh, uh, on my computer, on my phone, and really think through like, how do I accomplish these things? Uh, I think to give you some examples of what I set for this year, is really I've broken it down into personal financial, personal health, personal family, and then my business and all the different facets of my business. So on the personal side, health is always something that I treat very importantly. I am turning 40 this year, and it's important that I set a good example for my child. And living a healthy lifestyle is the best way to do so. Obviously, I start the year with a run challenge with my Grand AC Run Club. That helps me at least get the body moving, and in that respect. Uh, the rest of it really comes down to how you eat, how I drink, uh, how I sleep, things that I have over the years made marginal improvements, and I see the effect in my life. So I think when people try to make drastic changes in their life, it becomes very, very hard to maintain, which is why I don't do, any of the traditional dieting, because anything that's uh, a quick fix is not gonna work. It may work just to get the process started, but it's not realistic. I still travel. I have to eat out. I can't not drink. So it's really about limiting those things. I think anyone who would tell you in the health world, it's about moderation. So for me, every year I make a small improvement in, say, the way I eat. I think the biggest improvements from last year is the amount I ate at home was significantly higher than previous years. I've learned to cook. I've learned to enjoy cooking. I cook for my son, my wife, our family, and that just eating at home has been a game changer for me in terms of what I'm able to eat, enjoy eating. There was even a point this year where I was like, I can't eat out anymore. Like, I literally don't enjoy it because of how I feel. So I think that's one of my goals, is to continue making those improvements, learn how to cook other dishes that make me want to stay home and eat. And I don't think that'll be that hard, but it's something that I strive for. And I think I just got to set a plan of things I want to accomplish there. Uh, on the family side, I saw an interesting stat that my friend Leroy, who does a fit dad lifestyle, he said the average father spends like 34 minutes a day with their child. That is like so scary to me, considering we have 24 hours in a day. And I know I spend more time with him. Do I spend quality time with him? That's more that I'd have to really take a look at. But the idea of only spending 30 minutes a day with my son Dominic sounds really scary. And one of the things I worked on at the beginning of last year was putting my phone away when I'm with him. I've learned to actually got better at that. So in the morning when I go get him his milk, my phone stays in the room. We read books. I bring him downstairs. And then after maybe 30, 40 minutes, I'll go grab my phone. And it drives him nuts. His mood and attitude changes when I am on the phone. So I think I just have to get a little more disciplined there on the phone usage while he is next to me. Because I don't think that sets a good example for him when it's time for him to really start engaging in TV and things like that. He's going to kind of use that as the example. Like, yeah, when you have a screen in front of you, you get to ignore everybody. So that's going to continue to be an important thing. I think when it comes to my wife and my family relationship, one of the things that she's really great at that I'm also learning to be better at is communication and kind of dealing with issues that we have as a family. And I've made a lot of improvements. I wouldn't say I'm good at it yet, but I've made a lot of improvements. So I think that will continue to be something that I focus on is how my wife and I communicate, how we deal with challenges, how we plan for our future. I think when you get married, and unless you're just very disciplined and very organized, you don't really think about your future. You just think about, oh yeah, we're gonna have kids, we're gonna do this. And the reality is you can plan for a lot of these things. And see the funny commercials about planning for your child's education. And it's true though, if you actually think about where you want to be, you can figure out how to get there. The problem is we often just live life and we don't have any focus. And I think my wife and I are getting better at that. And I think I'm going to really start thinking about our future, our longer term, like how do we get there? Because it's an unneeded stress if you plan properly. And she's always a big believer in planning, whether it be our vacations, whether it be something else. And as I've always lived kind of on the edge and just did what I wanted when I wanted. But now that I have a family, that's not realistic. So continuing to plan, continue to think about how we want to live our life, where we want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and then work backwards. How do you get there? Because then it doesn't feel that daunting. It's achievable when you actually think about where you want to be and then the small steps every year you have to take to get there. So that's something I need to get more specific on what I mean by that. And I'm kind of thinking through it right now, but really setting out longer term goals for us as a family, I think will be extremely important. And that leads me to the last personal thing, which will be financial planning. And, last year we set a budget as a family and we were fortunate, did really well. So the budget actually got kind of thrown out the window. And, I'd like to get us back on that track and really think about where we spend our money. Are we happy with where we spend our money? Are we allocating it to the best places? Are we maximizing all the money we are spending? What are we trying to save for? Is it for our son's future? Is it for a place to live? Is it, whatever it is, like everyone has their different goals they have. I think for us is figuring out what those are and being disciplined when it comes to our spend. So a budget that we did at the beginning of 2019 really helped us in the first half of the year get a handle of where we spend our money. I think we both were very surprised at where money was being spent. And I think that helped us think about how to allocate money for the future. And then really, I don't control how much money I make. Obviously, the businesses have to do well. You get a little lucky with some opportunities that come your way. An investment or here can hit. But I think, now that I have like a clear dollar amount, I literally put down a dollar amount that I wanted to make. And I think I'll do that again this year and really think how can I piece that together? Look, at the end of the day, just because I have that goal, may or may not reach it, but at least there's a number that I think I am able to earn. How I get there, I'll need to figure it out. But I also don't want to put so much pressure on myself that I go chase this phantom number and I don't reach it and I'm disappointed and I put all this unneeded pressure on me. Because ultimately, the money is really to allow us to live a comfortable life. I don't think it'll ever define our happiness. Generally speaking, I'm a pretty happy person. I'm extremely appreciative of the life I live. So I'm fortunate where I don't need to, you know, I don't really complain. I complain in a for fun, but it doesn't things don't actually bother me the way some people get bothered by life and its situations. So really, I'm in a great place where, my financial planning for me personally and as a family is really about giving us the conveniences or the luxuries of life that we're able to afford if I do well. And if not, I'm still going to be happy. My family will be happy. We will still live a great life. These are just things that, icing on the cake. These are things that, will help make the future a lot easier. So we're not worried about money beyond, a few months. Because I think as you get older, that comfort knowing you have saved money or that you have investments is it's a luxury. It's an amazing feeling because that if a rainy day comes, you are okay. And I think it allows you to live life a little more full, a little more clear from a mental standpoint. Because when you're stressed financially, it's very, very hard to think big, think clear. So think about that as you plan your 2020. And then when it comes to my business, so this is something that I didn't do last year, and partially was a lot of the businesses are in such different stages, and I just was overwhelmed by the process. So I just set personal goals and personal kind of resolutions, if you want to call it. This year for the business, I'm going brand by brand and business by business. So internally under the 5-4 group, there are 7 brands and 8 different businesses. And so I am sitting through brand by brand with each team and setting goals, setting expectations, and kind of passing the buck to that team and saying, okay, we're going to sit down probably 2 more times this year to see if we are on track. And that's it. I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to put unneeded pressure on them daily, monthly. I think as a leader, I need to do a better job of defining what the year looks like and then passing it and letting them make it happen. And if one of the challenges of when you start a business and you're the leader of the business, when you're looking at things daily, it becomes very overwhelming. And you're like, how are we going to reach these goals if we can't even get through today? So my real goal is to let off on some of the folks internally, let them do what they do best and do check-ins and see where we end up at the year. So I think I'm going to sit and do that, over the next 7 to 10 days. Everyone will kind of have their marching orders come the middle of January. And we'll do a check-in, call it 4 months from now, do another check-in 8 months from now, and then do one at the end of the year and say, how did we pan out? How did we do? A lot of things can happen in order to reach these goals. There need to be proper resources, proper financial stability, but I think it'll just be a North Star for every brand and the company as a whole to focus on. Because I think those are important for an organization. And, sometimes I've been overwhelmed over the years where I've just forgotten to do it. And I think this year, now that I'm so self-aware of it, I'm definitely going to put pen to paper and pass that message along to the team. And then finally, a goal that I continue to have is building my personal brand and the community around me. It's been an amazing experience putting myself out there because I didn't realize, one, the impact that I would have on people from all over the world, which is so amazing. 2, how much of the conversations I'm having, the podcasts I'm putting out, are being applied in real life has been phenomenal. So for me, now it's about, okay, it's clearly working. Do I focus on scaling it? Do I focus on packaging things up better So internally, we were having a meeting yesterday about like, 2 years ago was throwing a dart and seeing would anyone pay attention. Last year was like proof of concept. Clearly I have an engaged audience, clearly connecting with people. This year to me is like professionalize it, package it better, be more impactful, be more thoughtful on the things we do. Really question, should we do this? Why should we do this? What impact will it have on me, our business? And stop kind of like pissing in the wind and just doing things. And I think that will really be my focus from a personal brand standpoint in 2020 is like be extremely thoughtful about every move we make, because that's really the only way to grow now, because quantity is great, quality is important, impact to me is everything, because if it's not having impact, then none of this stuff matters, because I'm really trying to treat this, for those that have been following along from the beginning, I do all this in the hopes that one, you connect with me, you get some value from some of the things I do, with the hopes that you'll take a look at my products, my brands, you'll connect with those, and then you'll actually have an emotional connection with our brand as opposed to treating us like a commodity. If I do that successfully, this whole thing was all worth it. And that's really what my focus is for 2020, is really figure out how to bridge that gap. And I feel that scaling is almost irrelevant, because the deeper the connections and the audience I have is far more powerful. And the reality is, if you own a brand or a product today, the world is so fragmented, meaning there are so many things that people can connect with. You can't assume you're going to be the biggest thing in the world, because everyone has choice. Everyone has the ability to resonate with somebody. And so I don't expect to be, millions of followers, millions of podcast listeners, and then that translates into hundreds of millions of dollars of clothes. I don't expect that. It's not realistic. What's realistic is me continuing to connect with the people that have already connected and helping them get over the hump and make them feel comfortable with the brands and products that we've been developing over the last 17 years. So my suggestion to you, write your goals down, put them on a piece of paper. I know that sounds crazy, or type it up, print it out, and look at it, because I think that alone will make your year more fruitful. Because if you just go to work and you work hard, that's fantastic, but you could actually work smarter and reach all your goals. Happy New Year.